Awesome.
It's the holiday gift grab, and you could win a share of over $90,000 in prizes at Desert Diamond Casino Sahuarita. Fridays in November and December, there are 4 winners every hour.
That's true, Tucson.
Choose or exchange your gift to win up to $750 free play or over $2,500 cash. It's holiday gift grab, only at Desert Diamond Sahuarita.
True. An enterprise of the Tohono Nation.
See Reward Center for details.
Shop Cyber Golden Gable deals at Lowe's. Right now, get up to 45% off and save an extra $100 on every $800 you spend on select major appliances. Valid through 11/29. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
What a lot of people don't realize is the new Chevys at O'Reilly Chevrolet make great stocking stuffers, especially when you happen to own stockings the size of a garage. Our red tag sale is going on now, and it's big, much like the price you'll get for your old vehicle. Your trade has never been worth more than it is this holiday season. Check out our red tag deals at O'Reilly.com. Call 747-8000 or let us play Santa in person on Broadway next to Park Place Mall. Find new roads today at O'Reilly Chevrolet.
O'Reilly Chevrolet.
Minute out here, I think.
You know how we Wildcats love our games, and there's no place better, closer, or safer to games than Desert Diamond Casino. Filled with hundreds of the newest and closest slots, dozens of your favorite table games, and superior food and beverage options. Desert Diamond is the #1 destination for your free time fun festivities.
Which one is one? Okay. Okay. All right.
Now be careful. You're going out over. Just remember, you're going out over the stream, and hurry because we're about to go.
Okay.
Just text me, guys. Just text me.
Okay.
Home of your Arizona Wildcats.
And you know this, man!
We are Wildcats Radio 1290.
KCUB Tucson, a Cumulus media station.
We are the sports station that Tucson turns to for all the latest news when it comes to Arizona men's basketball, along with all the play-by-play action. We are Wildcats Radio 1290. Bear down, Wildcats fans. This is the Meridian Wealth Management Pregame Show on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290.
Back to throw, gets hit, throws it up in the air. Did he pick it off? Is that Arizona football? It is! The Cats have got it! 5 Sun Devil turnovers.
The sun is rising in the desert, where a contest will be waged today. A battle for the territory. And to the winner will go a cup filled with pride that will last about 365 days till the next meeting, and memories as well that will last a lifetime. For the 97th time, it is the Territorial Cup Game between the Arizona Wildcats and the Arizona State Sun Devils. Welcome to our home for the day here in enemy territory. We are at Macayo's Mexican Food, ASU Tempe, right on Scottsdale Road, just a hopscotch across Tempe Town Lake from Arizona State and Sun Devil Stadium, or Mountain America Stadium as it is currently known. Pleased to be joined here on site by my man Glenn Howell, U of A football class of 1985. Back in studio down in Tempe, I should say Tucson, we've got J.W. Madden as well as the captain, Kelvin Ifan, 1998. And fellas, here we are, the game that we look forward to every year, this in-state battle between these two fine universities for the 97th time. What a series it has been. 50 wins for the Arizona Wildcats, 45 victories for the Arizona State Sun Devils, and amazingly, in 96 meetings, there has been just one time that these two teams walked away unhappy, kissing their sisters in 1987. Due to a tie. But today here, the Wildcats enter as a very large favorite, and maybe even, Glenn, with a chance to do some payback for what happened 3 years ago in Tucson.
Absolutely, Dave. I mean, I'm so excited about this game coming up here. Well, Dave, I had 1,095 days to drink from that cup because I never lost. I had 3 years in a row, so I had a lot of drinking going on in that Territorial Cup. So we had a great time of three. I was playing on that team the year after they started the streak, and I'm excited about what this game brings. Even though that Oregon State did not take care of business and beat Oregon, to help us out, and that this game still has the flavors, the scent, the animosity, everything that we need to have a rivalry game. And I tell you, it started this morning. I was getting breakfast at my hotel, and I was all these Sun Devils there, and I'm just saying, bear down. I didn't get any response, KE. No response. I said, I do not fear the fork. So it was great. And last night I got to spend break some bread with the ultimate Sun Devil killer, Max Zendejas, and that was great. He'll be on today, and just talking to him, and just just a great dude. And then that's 40 years we've been friends, and it's just been incredible.
And Kelvin, you got your two victories back to back. In 1997, 1998, you guys came up here and won in 1997, 28-16. What was special about that day for the Wildcats?
Well, it was special that day because we really needed that victory to get into the Inside.com Bowl. We wanted to send our seniors out on top with a winning record after having a losing record the previous season. I think we were 5-6 that year. So we wanted to make sure the seniors went out winning and the Chester Burnett's of the world. So we went out there and battled, man, was able to win that game. And I'm still looking for that video. It's somewhere on YouTube where we celebrated in that locker room. And I would want every Wildcat to be able to have that feeling of singing Bear Down in Arizona State's locker room.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've had a number of guys on this program this year, and one of those guys was Ortez Jenkins. Boy, was he hot in that first half in 1997 through 3 touchdown passes. OJ was on that day, wasn't he, Kelvin?
Oh, yeah, man. OJ was on, man. Our whole team, man, we had great receivers on that team. Rodney Williams, Brad Brennan, of course, Dennis Northcutt, Mike Lucky. I could just go on, man. We had players, a lot like what you see with this team, where you 2 and 3 deep at every position, and different guys could hurt you. And so, yeah, man, OJ was real hot in that first half. Keith played a little bit in that game as well. It was just a total team effort.
And then the next year, 1998, and the historic performance by your backmate, Trung Candidate, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think every single one of those runs went for about 50-plus yards that day. Trung was just on his game in 1998.
And I couldn't have been more happier for him. That's my brother right there, Trung. I think everybody know how we feel about each other. And in that game versus basically his hometown, rival, his brother went there to Arizona State, younger brother. But just so happy for him as a teammate, as a brother, to see him just running up and down the field as a running back that's kind of compete with him for touches. I was like, what in the world is going on? Right? Yeah. I was like, is these guys poor shame? Because they all over me. I couldn't get nothing. They seemed like I had a 11-man box every time I got the ball, man. But Trung broke through there and made a couple guys. I remember my guy Mitchell Freeman. Me and him got real cool at the Oakland Raiders when we were both trying out for the Oakland Raiders, and we got cool up there trying out. And I remember a couple times he ran by him so fast he grabbed his hamstring.
That's the first indicator when you get beat bad. I know.
He grabbed that hamstring. So that's Mr. Candidate right there, man. Superstar.
And Kelvin, what you just said right there, how you were so happy for your teammate. I think the same feeling is happening on this team. What's going on with all those running backs in that room? Everybody's happy for everybody doing well. Even in the quarterback situation, I see Jaden. He's hugging Noah. All those kinds of things, and that's what you need to have for a successful team. And I think this team has really got that. And I think that it's a starting point for building this program and thinking of how we get these guys together as just loving teammates. Like I said last night, 40 years I've been knowing Max, and we haven't seen each other in about 2 years, and we just hit it off right off, and we were just talking. That's all we were doing, is talking about old times and everything. And that's the kind of bond you have to have with your teammates.
And winning, a lot of that is created by winning. We both know that. I mean, when you have some winning experiences, you want to come back.
Years here for a moment. You mentioned Max Zendejas, who will join us on this program today, the Sun Devil killer, a 45-yard field goal to win in 1983. 3 field goals in 1984, including a 52-yarder, and then a field goal to win it in 1985. But the other thing that stands out about these games was the defense. 15 points, 10 points, and 13 points for ASU in those 3 games.
Yeah, absolutely. In 85, we were the number 1 defense in the Pac-10 at that time. That was a miracle game right there, man. We were about ready to lose that game, and then all of a sudden we get a fumble, and it was just unbelievable how that game ended. And then when the Sun Devils are trying to come back, who makes the play? Chuck Cecil makes the interception and runs it back, but we got a penalty, so we had to burn the clock, and that was beautiful. Being in victory formation, I just watched that video the other night. The last 3 minutes of that game, it was just unbelievable, And Max, when Max came out, they tried to ice him, and they just put more ice on the ice water because he was just ice water, man. I'm telling you, he got in there, and he was just looking down, just saying, okay. And then you can see they were just filming. It was Dave Silver on the call. Yeah, Dave Silver was on the call there, and it was just amazing. And we always, like I always told Max last night, when we got in the huddle and we knew we were going to kick a game winning with Max doing it. The only one that he missed was the Georgia
Sun Bowl. Yeah, the Sun Bowl against
Georgia game.
Yeah.
And
man, what a legacy he would have. I mean, his legacy was already great, but if he makes that,
oh my gosh, it would have been over. Beating the Dogs.
Exactly, beating the Dogs in a bowl game, an SEC team, even back in the day in the 1980s, would have been something fabulous. All right, let's turn our focus to what we've got here today in the 97th battle between these two fine universities.
It is time to take our first look at today's game.
Brought to you by the Window Depot. Lowest prices and biggest inventory.
Shop at WindowDepot.com.
All right, this is the 3rd Territorial Cup game for head coach Jed Fish. Losers here in 2021. Winning, though, last year to snap a 5-game losing streak in this series for the Arizona Wildcats. And Jed this week talked about what winning last year's game meant to him and this program.
For us, it was a huge win for the program to get the cup here in Tucson. It was the first time, I believe, that the cup was here with Dr. Robbins, with Dave. That was a big deal. None of our players beat the team up north until last year, so that was big. And then it kind of, gave us we won 2 out of the last 3 last year, and then we've been able to really now at this point in time win 6 of our last 7 home games, using that one as the first one, and that was important as well. So altogether, I would say it was a nice, let's call it momentum push into this offseason, and we're excited now where we're at now week 12 of this year.
And take us back to that moment last year in the tunnel after the game. Ricky hands you the trophy. I mean, just what you were feeling in that moment right there.
Yeah, it was really important for Ricky to have it first. I was happier for him that he got a chance to hold the trophy, and he said that meant the world to him. And then, when he handed it to me, that was pretty amazing. These games mean a ton. There's a lot of work involved. Now, last year there was a lot of emotion because it was the last game of the year, and I felt like we were turning the corner. And I think that my elation at that moment had a lot to do with just feeling like the program was turning, not just the one victory. But it's a super cool moment when you get to hold the trophy up. And when you get to hold the rivalry trophy up, that means a ton to the state of Arizona. We've been able to really do a fantastic job of recruiting the state of Arizona, owning the state of Arizona. I don't think there's any question about that. The best players in Arizona either come to Arizona or they leave Arizona. So that's been a good sign moving forward that we'll continue to recruit that area, those areas at the highest level.
The best players either come to Arizona or they leave Arizona.
And you know what else I like? He doesn't say their name. He doesn't say, he goes, the school up north.
Right, yeah.
I said, he's got a great advisor advising him because none of those other coaches, they all used to say ASU, and I say the guys up north. Right. I say everybody that understands this. Rob Jed Fish, I'm gonna give you kudos, man. I'm gonna give you kudos for not saying the word. It's just like I was on Phoenix station up there, man. I was just saying the same thing. I called them the scummies. I was like, and they were, and Dan Benucci was like, what do you say? I'm like, yeah, that's what I call them. That's what it is. And I also said, what is the first thing you hear from a graduate when you're Arizona State graduate? The first thing they say to you, welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order, please? So they just did not like that.
Or good morning, boss.
Yeah, good morning, boss. Exactly. So it's like it's a great thing. I'm glad he's getting the rivalry right, man. This is what it's about. I don't care if you came from 7 other schools, okay, or 7 other teams. You got to get this one right. This is the one you got to get. That's just like a Michigan guy saying, I don't even, what's Ohio State?
Right.
That's the same thing.
I tell you what, Jed Fish also, you'll remember last year at Arizona Stadium, and all word is that Jaden Rashada is going to start at quarterback today for the Arizona State Sun Devils. That means that Trenton Bourget out of Marana High School likely will not start a second consecutive Territorial Cup game. Trenton started last year, and his family, because obviously it's a holiday weekend, bought up a whole block of tickets right in the middle of the Zona Zoo. That made a lot of people in Tucson upset to see all that gold in premium seats right in the middle of the Zona Zoo. Jed Fish was asked about this week and where he anticipates the Arizona fans are going to be today.
I don't know how that happened. I remember that last year. They must have bought them, on StubHub or whatever it might have been. We talked about that Colorado game where our fans were actually almost not in the stadium. So they can put you wherever they want to put you. They can block it out. I believe, any way they want to do it. I would imagine at this game they don't really put us in the best seats, would be my guess. I don't remember where we sat 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago was a whole another world, felt like. So I'm not sure we're going to have great seats. That'll be my prediction, but hopefully we'll be able to play well.
Yeah, hopefully they will indeed. All right, let's get our first break-in of the day and tell you what is happening that we've got coming up for you. We are here until noon. We're at Mikhail's Mexican Restaurant. Here we are, ASU Tempe. Great new little kind of enclave here on the opposite side of Tempe Town Lake from the campus area. So come on over here. There's a lot happening in this little area, and we will be here till noon. Let's tell you what we've got coming up today for you.
Let's take a look at the Right Way Rundown and see what's coming up on our pregame show, brought to you by Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, doing things the right way.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about the Arizona Wildcats blocking from the wide receiver position coming up in our next segment. Also in the huddle today, as Glenn mentioned, the Sun Devil killer, Max Zendejas, will join us. We will also go on defense and check in with head defense coordinator Johnny Nansen, who has some great things to say about Jacob Manu getting his first interception of the season last week. And, of course, our Right Way rundown also includes the pest of the game a little bit later, your keys to the game, best bets, and a whole lot more. We may even hear from, as well, Kenny Dillingham, the head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils, along with Jordan Clark, their fine defensive back who's an NFL prodigy coming. His dad, of course, the great Ryan Clark, who played a number of years in the National Football League with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll also hear from Traden Stukes, a Valley youngster who has come down to Tucson and really become an outstanding defensive back for this Arizona Wildcats football program. Again, we're at Mikhail's Mexican Food, 650 North Scottsdale Road. This is the place to be. Come on up, join us before you head over to the stadium for the game, and we'll keep you company. Great food here, great drinks as well. I'm sure they'll have the TVs fired up here shortly. We'll get some college football going on. Michigan, Ohio State have an early kickoff today as well, coming up here in about 40 minutes. Always a great rivalry, and for sure the game of the day across outside of the game, obviously, that we're playing here in Arizona between the Sun Devils and the Wildcats. Quick timeout, come back. I got Kelvin Efon, I got Glenn Howe, J.W. Madden, I'm David Kelly. It is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Game Day pregame show. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
That's our first look at the game, brought to you by the Window Depot. Lowest prices and biggest inventory. Shop at WindowDepot.com. This is Wildcats Radio 1290.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you in part by
Advanced
I thought everybody else did that because I was the star. When you're the star and you make your own plays. You make your own plays in high school. And a lot of those things are got to be taught with great technique. And that's what these coaches are teaching these kids. I've been harping on this for the last 4 to 5 weeks because I've been seeing it on film of what the technique, and that's what's making them successful, because a technician is going to be successful at a high level. If you talk to any pros, when we were talking to Mike Haynes, Mike Haynes was on the show last year. Talking to him, we talked to him, and he, one of the greatest DBs, he talked about technique. It's important at the next level to understand your technique of how to be able to block, how to be able to tackle, how to be able to do all kinds of things. It's just important for you to understand how to do those things in the correct way.
And let me say this, add this one thing too. As a receiver, that's also your chance to hit those guys back. I mean, that's your chance to hit them back a little bit when you get a chance to block.
You want your wide receivers to block in the passing game, especially on those edge passes that you guys throw and are so successful with. Is there somewhere where that originated, the concepts of how you want that to take place in your offense?
Yeah, well, back in the day, let's call it 2009, when I was the offensive coordinator in Minnesota, and then Miami after that, we used to cut on the perimeter all the time. And that was a big part of our perimeter screens. We would always go for the legs. We would always cut. You can't do that anymore. So we had to reevaluate how we were going to block those perimeter screens. We had to take a different approach. We had to take a different. We used to cut and go outside. Now we kick out and go inside. So it's kind of a different approach. I know Montana's was outside. It was a great job by Jacob. But for the most part, you got to fit it up right. You got to be willing. You got to keep your feet running the whole time. You can't ever stop your feet, because that's how injuries will occur. And then you got to, be able to run them into the sideline if you can. You got to get your hands inside, and you've got to do a tremendous job of making sure that if you're going to hit those perimeter screens, the timing of those screens, it starts with the ball placement. You got to have the ball, what I would say, 1 foot in front of the front shoulder pad. You got to be able to turn up when you catch it. And then you got to be able to make sure that, the kick-out block is successful.
And take us back to that moment last year in the tunnel after the game. Ricky hands you the trophy. I mean, just what you were feeling in that moment right there.
Yeah, it was really important for Ricky to have it first. I was happier for him that he got a chance to hold the trophy, and he said that meant the world to him. And then, when he handed it to me, it was pretty amazing. These games mean a ton. There's a lot of work involved. Now, last year there was a lot of emotion because it was the last game of the year, and I felt like we were turning the corner. And I think that my elation at that moment had a lot to do with just feeling like the program was turning, not just the one victory. But it's a super cool moment when you get to hold the trophy up. And when you get to hold the rivalry trophy up, that means a ton to the state of Arizona. We've been able to really do a fantastic job of recruiting the state of Arizona, owning the state of Arizona. I don't think there's any question about that. The best players in Arizona either come to Arizona or they leave Arizona. So that's been a good sign moving forward that we'll continue to recruit that area, those areas at the highest level.
All right, we heard a little bit of that before, but I want to just touch on the Ricky Hundley part of that. Obviously, we talk about the great plays in this rivalry, and Chuck is on this staff, and he's probably made the iconic play, but Ricky, by far, maybe the best player in the history of this program, and he is on this staff too, and I loved just the fact that, hey, this is a guy that that knows the history of this. For him to be able to hold the trophy first last year says a lot about Jedd Fisch, I think.
Well, absolutely. And how Ricky feels about this is because what Larry Smith put in his mind.
Yeah.
Larry Smith took this trophy very, very seriously, man. He had it countdown to how many days that we play after we beat them, how many days it is to in the locker room. Yeah. Countdown to when we play the Scummies again. You know, and he disdained them. And all of our players, it's all comes from the coaches. That's how you set your rivalry, is the coaches and the tone. Coach Rogaman, just like he would just go crazy on you know, and he was a defensive coach, and he would go crazy during the week. I talked to Coach Bernardi the other night. He was my tight end coach. He was like, you got to be ready for this rivalry game. This game, you are a better team, but you got to be ready because the team that is the lesser team always finds a way to win. So this is a dangerous game. So you have to take it very, very seriously, and you have to be able to be prepared mentally and physically for this game. And
before we, Kelvin, I want to get your thoughts on this, but before we do that, I want to hear from Brennan Carroll, who also talked about the blocking schemes for this offense.
Well, you know, Kevin Cummings has done such a fantastic job developing these guys. You know, we've got young guys playing all over the place. Kevin Green and Malachi Riley. You've seen those guys, and it's really just an attitude. And Coach Cummings brings that attitude every day to practice, and it's just along the lines of everything we do, about defense, about run blocking, about and pass protection. Everything we do, we want to be physical. We want to be able to dominate the opponent. Kevin's just been a great beacon for those receivers to follow. And they've followed his lead, and they've all done great things. So we'll just continue to do that, and excited to get to talk about Coach Kevin Cummings.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kelvin, again, that's the difference right now in this program, is the physicality we are seeing from all the position groups now.
Yeah, and I think that's because of depth. I said again, when you have depth, you have to play harder because the next guy get in and he does the job, he's going to get more reps than you. So the only way to make sure you get your reps is by going in and doing your job, overdoing your job in most instances, because you don't want to be in a situation to where the next guy performs a little bit better and takes some minutes away. So, and another thing, I just feel like that last game, that Territorial Cup, the Arizona State game, is always important whether you have a bowl game or not, because it's the last game of the year, and the last thing you want to do is go lose.
That's the Wildcats Offensive Scouting Report. The Offensive Scouting Report is brought to you by O'Reilly Chevrolet. O'Reilly Chevrolet, get more with O'Reilly Chevrolet. Bear down, Wildcats fans. This is the Meridian Wealth Management Pregame Show on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290. Show on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290. Let's go in the huddle with Arizona letterman Glenn Howell.
In the Huddle with Howell is brought to you by Kaiser Garage Door and Gates. Kaiser celebrating 25 years serving Arizona.
Welcome into this week's edition of In the Huddle with Howell, presented by Kaiser Garage Doors and Gates. I'm U of A tight end Glenn Howell, class of 1985, and our guest today is the Sun Devil killer, Max Zendejas, the kicker from the Wildcat football team, class of 1985. Max, what is happening? How you doing?
How you doing, Glenn? Good. Everything good here.
All right, Max, it was great seeing you last night. We broke some bread, talked about old times. It was just really great seeing you, man. I haven't seen you in a little bit, and I was just telling people on the radio that we just we haven't seen each other in a long time, but we just clicked. That right when I saw you at the bar, and I just walked up to you, and we were just playing like yesterday.
Well, that's the beauty about it, playing together and having teammates, the next teammates. It's like family. It's hard to, it's hard to replace that.
Absolutely. So, Max, where are you living now? What are you doing now? What have you been doing since your career has been done with football?
I live in Old Town, Scottsdale, and what I do is mainly real estate and property owners and landlord now. So I love it here, love the weather. I just enjoy it here. Been here for a while now.
Yeah, you're up here in Sun Devil country, but you still stand out because I know everybody. We were at the bar last night, and everybody knows Max Zendejas, man. Everybody knows Max. Everybody knows in Sun Devil country. You're still well known, my brother. You're still well known. How do you like that, being up here and everybody still remembers you?
Well, you got to be good to people, and I love it here again, and you just. Try to get along with everybody, and there's always good people everywhere. So I like going to places where they treat you right, just like they did at U of A.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Max is a good dude. That's what makes friendships last so long, because you're just a good guy. And Max, we talked about. Everybody talks about, we want to know our story about how we got here. What was your recruiting story, and who recruited you to get to Arizona, and why did you pick Arizona?
Well, I had a lot of options because Luis, at the time, he was at ASU, and the ASU was recruiting me, U of A. There's a lot of teams out there, Vegas, on and on, but they offered a lot of things, and U of A didn't offer anything but, just Tucson itself. And I met some good people there, Hispanic people that convinced me to otherwise just pick U of A. In Tucson, I just enjoyed it, liked it. Larry Smith was good to me. So I decided to go there just to go, and for the town of Tucson and for U of A. There was just something there that they weren't offering anything but an education and treat me right. They guaranteed that I'd be one of the starters there. And there's two seniors at the time, kickers and punters. So I was able to beat them out and replace them, and that's the only way I would even consider to stay there.
Who was the coach that recruited you?
Larry Smith.
I know, but
Allen.
And then Coach Allen. Coach Allen did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember Coach Allen, little Coach Allen, man. He was a fireball.
Little coach.
Yeah, he was a fireball. Did you get recruited by Coach April at all?
No, it was just Coach Allen and Larry Smith.
Yeah, because, Coach Allen became one of the top special teams coaches in the National Football League. He was one of the – he coached for like almost 20-something years. He played. He coached there and he was special team coach of the year and stuff. He was a really good special teams coach because he was our special teams coach at Arizona. He did all the special teams on Arizona.
At the time when I was in California, I came to the U.S. when I was 8 years old, so I was 18 years old when I was getting recruited. So I didn't know much about football. What I knew was soccer. And I just somehow, something that Coach Allen and Larry Smith did, that I decided to just come to Tucson.
And also I was talking about Coach Smith, how he really emphasized the rivalry against Arizona State, how it was. And you remember when we used to have that clock watcher, how many days until we beat Arizona State again, in the locker room?
Well, not only that, he was really good about special teams. Mm-hmm. Special teams, and now look what's happening nowadays. Kickers are winning games left and right. So he was right about you got to have good special teams to win games.
Yeah, and so we talk about this is rivalry week. Like I said, I tell everybody that you were the Sun Devil killer. What was your biggest, greatest football memory at University of Arizona?
Well, to me, obviously, it was Notre Dame kick at Notre Dame, and I'll tell you a story.
Yeah, tell us a story about that one. Everybody wants to know about that one. A lot of people don't know about that story.
Well, I was on the sideline, and what happened is that I was waiting. We're tied, and Coach Smith, I wanted to go out there and kick a long field goal over 50, and he said, it's too far, it's raining, it's this, it's windy, you can't, and so he would let me do it. And the one thing about me is that I had that, I didn't like when somebody told me I can't make it.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted it bad. I was one of those kickers that, don't tell me I can't make it. Most kickers nowadays, they don't want to go out there. I just wanted to get out there and kick that field goal. So what I did, I threw the helmet down. I took out the shoulder pads, went in, took a shower, and waited in the bus. I quit
during the game, folks. This was during the game. Wow.
During the game. And then Coach Smith and players went in the bus and got me, come on, Max, we need you. And so somehow I decided to go back out there, and I kicked the field goal. When I kicked the field goal, I also got knocked out after, so it was roughing the kicker, just in case if I'd have missed, I'd have had another chance to kick it again.
Yeah.
And I still remember that guy. His name was Jesse Small, something like that. Mm-hmm. But thank God I made it, went through. And I'll tell you, I kicked that ball so hard because it was against the wind. I kicked it like a kickoff.
Yeah,
it took forever to get there. But
that was one of the greatest wins in Arizona history, man, beating Notre Dame, man. They were number one. Weren't they number one in the country then?
Yeah, they're undefeated.
Yeah.
On. And a little team from Tucson, Arizona, goes in there and just, beats them.
That's
it was amazing how we all came together and played and walked out with the win.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of great memories, but that's one of the top.
Yeah, I can't believe that you left the field, took a shower, and then went on the bus and just sat on the bus, man.
That's a lot of machismo there, Max. That's a lot of machismo.
A lot of machismo. One time, too, real quick, Len. I don't know if you remember this, but we the bus would leave like right there at the center.
Oh yeah.
To eat, and then one time they left to the back and they forgot about me.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
I guess they forgot me. So you guys went to play at LSU, and I said, well, so I'm just gonna go home. So I drove back to Chino, California. I said, forget, I'm not going to play. So they sent a private plane to pick me up from Chino, California.
Wait.
To fly me like at midnight.
I remember we were on the plane and we were like, "Where is Max? Where's Max?" We're going on the way to LSU. We're like, "Where is Max?" And Max wasn't on the plane, man. That was incredible.
They had to send a jet to get you?
Yeah, to take me to the game.
Oh, my God.
It was, it was crazy what they did, and that's the kind of attitude I had. Like, well, I guess they don't want me to play, so I'm just going to go to California and relax for the weekend.
and Max, I tell you what, remember when we were driving for that field goal? We were playing LSU. I knew if you had a chance to kick that field goal, we would have won that game.
Oh, I was ready, and then I think the Alfred
fumbled it. Yeah, he fumbled it right at the 40, right in front of I was standing on the sideline on that game. We were driving. I said, well, "It's over, man. We're gonna beat LSU at LSU." And freaking Alfred's running to the sideline. He's running, and we're all saying, "Get down!" And he turned upfield, and the guy hit him, and the ball popped up, and then they went.
The other
LSU, other way, man. And we were just ready. We were driving to and then they just sat on the ball and it was over.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. But Max, when they picked you out, when they called, just think of the logistics of getting that done. Back then, 1985.
Right.
Calling Max, get him on the phone, get your butt to the airport. We're gonna get you over here.
Well, you know what it was with Coach Smith is that it was the funniest thing that once we had the ball, even if it was on our own 10, 20-yard line, Max, get ready. We're gonna, Coach, we're not even halfway there. Just get ready. We're gonna have to kick a field goal. And really, at the time, our quarterbacks were really good, but we just had to get in there and kick a lot of field goals. So that was his whole thing: is the minute we got the ball, just get ready for field goal.
Yeah,
and he believed in me a lot, so that's why I had so many field goals that I kicked, and just because that was our offense, at the time. Now you got great quarterbacks, you got great kickers. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so much out there nowadays.
Yeah, but we always knew as your teammate, Max, I always knew if we had a chance to kick a field goal to win a game, we're gonna win the game because you were kicking it. The only one that I ever seen you really miss was the Georgia game, man. I just remember the sound of that kick, man. The sound of that kick was not the same.
Oh, yeah.
The same. Did you scrape your foot on that, or what happened on that kick?
No. What happens? It was really windy. If you remember, really windy, and sometimes when you just try to place the ball and overconfident, like it's a chip shot, the wind just took it. And that's one of the few times that I did that, because I would always just drill the ball, and I just didn't make field goals. They were down the middle. And most kickers barely squeeze them nowadays or hit them down the middle. But if I miss, I miss. But every time I made them, it was just down the center, just because I just practice all the time to make sure that ball was going to go down the middle.
And Max, there's another thing that you told me that I didn't realize. Last night you were telling me how much you used to run. You used to do a lot of running.
Back then, I'm one of those guys still to this day that if somebody tells me not to do weights, I'm going to do weights. Yeah, so I was one of the few kickers back then that I did weights. I believe in weights. I believe in chiropractors. Everybody said, don't go to a chiropractor, on and on. So I would go to a chiropractor. It always worked for me. Nowadays, these kids, everybody's doing heavy weights. That's why they're so strong.
Yeah, the legs. Powerful. As a strength and conditioning guy, I really believe that kickers.
I did aerobics. I did everything I could to work out. When I was in kicking, I was always running or working out in the gym. So I believed in all that. None of my cousins or brothers did weights except I.
Max, did you understand your legacy? How long did it take you to understand your legacy of being the Sun Devil Killer. I mean, did you realize that after you'd beaten him the second time that, man, I'm gonna go down in history as a guy that dominated this series, or was it a number of years later when you kind of had time to reflect on it and people began kind of talking about it in that respect that you realized the importance that you played in this rivalry game?
You know, I still probably haven't, and I didn't at the time because, again, I came from Mexico. You know, I was just happy to be here. And I was 8 years old, and, 10 years later, all of a sudden I'm being Notre Dame national TV that, it wasn't a sport that I really knew anything about, football. I knew a lot about soccer. But it was later down the years that I still, I'm humble and I'm thankful what I did and what happened. Great memories, but it's something that's helped me in everything I've done. It's just the name still, I can't believe how it's still alive in so many ways, and people remember the last thing. Because, there's a lot of us played. At one time, there's 7 of us playing, cousins and brothers. 5 brothers, 2 cousins in college. And we were all kickers.
Yeah, that's one thing about
thank God I can't believe I got drafted, the 4th round in 1985, which they were drafting kickers. It's just amazing.
And Max, do you think that changing when the NFL changed not using the T, how did you adjust to that?
Well, everybody, it affected everybody. Me, I was quick. I learned quick because of the whip of my leg, the speed of my leg. It wasn't hard for me to adjust because I just got the ball. Off the ground easy, and it was soccer that taught me that too. Mm-hmm. But still, it was a challenge for everybody to just learn to kick off the ground from going a 2-inch tee to nothing.
Yeah, that 2-inch tee that was big. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that is a lot. So, Max, we got some really good kickers here. Tyler Loop, he last week before the game, he was the all-time before the game. He was the all-time. He was tied #1 all-time percentage kicker in NCAA history.
90%. Yeah.
90%.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you think? Have you seen those guys kicking? What do you think of Tyler?
I've seen even the kicker for the Rams. He's doing really well.
Avasek,
made the kick last week with a minute and a half to go.
Yeah.
Give him the win.
Again, these kickers nowadays, they have some legs. Back then I had the strongest leg just because, again, I just would lift the weights and I had a leg. Nowadays, these kids have some legs. And we have a school here in Phoenix that my brother Alex and my nephew Alex, they train a lot of those kickers. So therefore, even the kid from for the Rams, they train him. And so, nowadays these kickers are being trained by some good kicking coaches out there now.
Yeah.
But it's still all mental too nowadays.
Absolutely. We're talking to place kicker Max Zendejas. The class of 1985, better known as the Sun Devil Killer, is our guest today in the Huddle with Hal, brought to you by Kaiser Garage Doors and Gates. Kaiser, celebrating 25 years of serving Arizona.
Hey, Max, before we let you go, one question I want to ask you about Alex, because that was one of the things we were talking about this week. I think that not enough people remember Alex for the fact that he beat the Sun Devils in 2009. So many people just focus on what happened the next year in 2010, and I think that's unfortunate because, again, he was a young man that, like yourself, continued the family name in that respect. In winning that game here in Tempe, which not a lot of teams in this century for the Arizona Wildcats have won games here in Tempe, and he was, they did so on his leg in 2009, and I think more people need to remember that he did that than the fact he got the 2 kicks blocked in 2010.
Yeah, it's amazing what he did. Yeah, that's the life of the kicker. All the years that I beat ASU with even the last minute field goal 57-yarder, it would time expired. But you're only as good as your last kick. That's the life of a field goal kicker. It's a sad thing, but that's the way it is. I mean, most people remember that I missed that field goal in Georgia, but they don't remember all the other ones that I made.
Yeah.
But that's the way kickers live, and you just got to come back and hit the next one.
Absolutely.
So hopefully they forget the one you missed, especially against ASU. You cannot afford to miss.
Yeah, and Max, you were 4-0 against Arizona State, right?
It was one of those things that I couldn't miss. I just couldn't miss, not because of ASU. I would just, they would walk into the stadium at U of A with the roses, and that would kind of tick me off. We're going to beat them.
And you never, you never lost.
The roses are all on the floor. No, never did.
Yeah, never lost. I never lost either. We're undefeated, Max. Max, my brother, I appreciate you coming on. We want to thank Max Dejas, University of Arizona kicker, the Sun Devil kicker, for joining us on This Week in the Huddle with Howell.
Thank you, guys. Go U of A.
Bear down, brother.
Bear down.
That's In the Huddle with Howell, brought to you by Kaiser Garage Door and Gates. Kaiser celebrating 25 years serving Arizona.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management Pregame Show is brought to you in part by
Advanced Auto Care, Crest Insurance Group, Desert Diamond Casinos, First Chiropractic, Frog and Firkin, Kaiser Garage Doors and Gates, Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating and Plumbing,
the Pulse of Results team with Keller Williams, Southern Arizona,
Royal GMC Buick and Cadillac, Royal Kia, Royal Jaguar Land Rover, and the Window Depot.
Auto Parts stores. Take advantage of our same-day delivery and pickup. Just visit our website at stores.advanceautoparts.com and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Advance Auto Parts for all your car repair needs. Now a proud radio sponsor of the University of Arizona Wildcats.
Do you often worry you left the garage door open? With a LiftMaster garage door opener powered by MyQ, you'll never worry again. You can control, secure, and monitor your garage from your smartphone anytime from anywhere through the MyQ app. As an authorized LiftMaster dealer, we have smart openers designed for your needs, including belt drive motors for ultra-quiet operation, integrated camera for live video streaming, and battery backup that lets you in when the power is out.
Kaiser Garage Doors and Gates is your authorized local LiftMaster dealer. Visit KaiserDoor.com for more information.
Back down, Wildcats fans. This is the Meridian Wealth Management Pregame Show on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290.
And welcome back out here to Tempe. It is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Game Day pregame show. I am David Kelly along with Glenn Howe and Calvin Efon. Arizona versus Arizona State for the 97th time. The Territorial Cup Game here. Kickoff coming up at 1:30 p.m. here at Mountain America Stadium. Let's eye in on some things happening with this Arizona Wildcats defense.
Let's look at the Wildcats offensive scouting report for today's game.
He gets hit. He fumbles the ball. The Cats with the ball, they pick it up. They'll take over at midfield.
This is Arizona football on Wildcats Radio 1290.
One left, Barnes at quarterback. He will take the snap. Looking left, firing left. Intercepted. Picked up by the Wildcats. Barnes the only man to beat, and he gets the tackle out at the 45-yard line. Arizona football. Jacob Manu with the interception. The Cats get a takeaway. They've got a block punt, and now an interception.
Jacob Manu, who's done just about everything for this defense, and last week we saw him drop into coverage and get an interception for this Wildcats defense. And guys, I mean, and I'll start with you, Kelvin. Just the evolution of this young man in 2 years has been pretty incredible. We know he can blitz, we know he can tackle, but he starts doing stuff like that on a regular basis. I mean, being able to read the passing game. I mean, we kind of heard that he's a smart football player, but that really shows you, his growth and knowledge of what's happening out there defensively for this football team.
Yeah, man. There's no way that he can play if he wasn't just a heck of a smart player. I mean, at his size, I mean, if he wasn't able to anticipate, if he wasn't able to read the plays, read the formations, there is no way that he would be able to have the jump and the ability to jump those plays the way that he's doing. He's been playing a magnificent get. I mean, you go back and you think about it, he was considered like a throw-in, like a last thought of type of guy in that situation. And you really look at it, he's one of the real reasons this team has helped turn around. We had problems at linebackers. We couldn't find a linebacker. And here comes this guy, 5'11", 210, 220, dominating at his size.
Yeah, I mean, let's hear from the head coach. Let's hear from the defensive coordinator, Johnny Nansen, on Jacob Manu and his ability to read that play last Saturday against the Utah Utes.
I think Manu, his overall football IQ has been really unbelievable this year. You know what I mean? That's something that we practice, that route down in the red zone, and he saw it, and he was in place to make the play and made a great play, get us out of there. And but I'm just proud of the way he stays the game and his discipline and everything that it comes with to being a great football player.
Obviously, Trenton Bourget, a local kid from down here in Marana, quarterback for ASU. What did you see from him last year in the game? What are you anticipating you'll need to do differently with him this year?
I mean, he's really smart. I mean, he knows where he's going with the football. He understands the offense. So we got to do a great job, containing them in the pocket and make sure we, try to get to him and move him off the spot like we did this week.
All right, and we mentioned at the top of the show, it appears that Jaden Rashada will start today in place of Trenton Bourget, who was looking to start his second consecutive Territorial Cup game. We'll get more into Trenton, the young man out of Marana, coming up a little bit later. But, again, this is the Territorial Cup game. We want to hear from all of our Wildcats out there that have played in this fabulous game. We're going to have a number of folks calling in throughout the rest of the show today. We've got you till noon, and then we'll turn it over to the network. I just want to remind you that this is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Game Day pregame show, and we are brought to you by Dave & Buster's, the best place to eat, drink, and play. And if you can't get out here to Tempe, Arizona today to watch the game, be sure you watch it at Dave & Buster's. Glenn, we've got another special guest.
Yes, we have Dougie Fresh. That's better known as Dougie Fresh. He played at Sabino High School, and he was an offensive lineman. You started at offensive
Penner.
guard.
Doug Penner.
Doug Penner, Dougie Fresh. How you doing, Doug?
Yeah, I'm on. Glenn, man, so good to talk to you, man. You know how much I love you, and it's great to be on and be with you. And especially on a day like this, it's gonna be a great day. I never miss it. I never miss a game. I stay up till I'm in New Jersey, and I'm up till 2:00 in the morning watching some games.
And throwing stuff at the TV. I bet too.
Oh yeah, I'm not a big fan on Saturday nights in my house.
and Doug, man, Doug called me. He just called me about 10 minutes. He goes, I can't believe ESPN. Tell us what you saw this morning, man.
I really watch College Game Day because Arizona, they're really coming around. They've had a great year so far, and we got to finish it off. I thought they would do something about Arizona football. They did absolutely nothing. ESPN Game Day did nothing on this game today. They talked about other games that really mean nothing, and it's like, come on now. I mean, this team's been a true success story all year, and what they've done the last 7 weeks. I mean, come on now. I mean, Washington, number 4 team in the country, they had them on the ropes, and it was, it's just one of those things. They're still not getting the respect they deserve.
You know what? I know
it really bothers me.
Hey, Doug, I know everybody's going to say, yeah, that's easy for you to say, but I tell you what, if Oregon State would have beat Oregon, we would have beat Washington. We beat Washington if we played them again.
Wow, okay.
I think we would beat Washington. I think we would.
Yeah.
Because I just think our guys would just be like, you know what? We had these guys on the rope. We're not letting them go this time. Because I think we got some dogs on this team.
Oh, we do. Absolutely, man. I tell you what, this defense, and you got to credit Nansen. He's done, schematically, he has done some amazing things to hold people in check. I mean, they're not giving up the big plays. I mean, you can look at Colorado; they were loaded with weapons. I mean, they didn't have a line. That's what killed them. But they couldn't come up with the big play. Washington come up with the big play. And I think it frustrated them a little bit, and it was a great game plan going in. It really was, and we had them on the ropes. And I think honestly, we had our chances to win that game. But you got to credit the coaching staff. They've done an amazing job. They truly have.
They have. What's your fondest memory of the ASU game, Doug?
It has to be my senior year, without a doubt. Walking off the field a winner, and sitting out. I didn't want to leave. I knew it would be the last time I ever put a helmet on, and sit on the field after the game with the whole offensive line: Joe Toppelmeyer, John Brando, Glenn Parker, Rob Woods, and sitting on the field. And we were sitting up in the middle of the field, and Ron McBride, our offensive line coach, we all had to write something about our last game as a Wildcat, because it was our last game. And after the game, we sat in the middle of the field, and for some reason, all these fans that stormed the field were sitting around us, and we're reading off what we wrote, and we're crying and everything, and it was really emotional. It was the one. Wow. It was walking off the field and seeing, and the winner was just amazing. It really was. That's what I remember most.
Wow, I never heard that story. That's amazing.
Oh well,
really?
Hey, Glenn, I just told you the story. You just heard it.
Yeah. Like wow. Dougie Fresh, man, I didn't know that. That's awesome. That's an awesome story, man.
Yeah, it was great. We walk up the field, we all sat in the middle of the field, and it wasn't just like those guys. It was all other people, the Doug Prickett and people like that. Just we're all sitting around and just sitting there crying and hugging each other and telling our story, and it was really emotional. It was good, and then hey, and then you move on.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the next wave comes in.
Yeah. Did you ever? You never lost to Arizona State, or did you just tied?
Never lost to them. I was part of. I was part of 5 games. Redshirt in my first year, and that was that we beat them at home, and then the next year we beat them up there when Max came through in the clutch with 2 huge field goals.
Yep.
And then the next year was the '86 game, was the Chuck game with the return. But I tell you what doesn't get recognition in that game, and I say this all the time. Chuck's play was great. Don't get me wrong. But the James DeBow stop on the goal line was amazing, and that does not get credit. That nobody really talks about that, and that should be talked about for history in Arizona football. Because to me, that changed the game.
Hey, Doug, David Kelly here. I mean, I've said to me that is as equally an iconic play, and I've been saying this ever since I got here 15 years ago and I started learning about this rivalry. It's equally as an iconic play as what Chuck Cecil did, and there's no bones about it. I mean, you look at that dude, you look at the video, I mean, the size of that dude, James DeBow, sizing up that running back at the goal line, and you're going to tell me that play is not as big as Chuck Cecil? Come on.
Channing going into that big pig was 260, and James was 180. And James got underneath his pads and drove him back a little bit, and then the cavalry came, and it was just amazing. That was a game changer.
Yeah, that absolutely was, man. Absolutely was. And did you? I just remember Doug, just warming up and seeing those guys across the field, and we just had Coach Smith just put the fire, and I know Coach Tomey did too, but Coach Smith used to make us really hate them. I mean,
well, if you look at the history of Larry's when Larry was an assistant coach, they did some things when Larry was an assistant. Larry I was trying to watch my language, but Larry really upset Larry. Yeah. So Larry took it when he became the head coach. He set the tone on that rivalry. There's no doubt about it. Larry set the tone. And Glenn, you know this. We used to sit in the first meeting of the season. Yep. We had 5 goals. We had great point average. Win the Pac-10. And the goal was always beat ASU.
That's right.
And that was it.
Exactly. And then we had the countdown. Then we had the countdown in the locker room.
We had the countdown to the game. Exactly.
Go ahead, Kelvin. Both of you guys, I'm sure, played with Coach Charlie Dickey. He was one of the guys that used to get up in front of us. And Coach told me he was on staff as offensive line coach, which I'm sure most people know. But Coach Dickey used to get up in front of us. And right now, I got goosebumps right now just thinking of Coach Dickey just getting up there. Guys, we never lose to those guys. We are never back down. I mean, when I just think of Coach Dickey, man, I mean, that was like the first person that because Coach would bring people all week, 2 or 3 people a day to talk.
Great story about Charlie was I was a redshirt freshman. Charlie was a senior. Charlie was a mentor to me. Charlie was the best. In fact, the kind of guy Charlie was. It was a summer before my true freshman year, and Charlie used to ask me to come out and work out with him. And I was a nobody. I was just coming out of high school, and he used to meet me on Saturday. He used to meet me in the mornings during the week on Saturdays at 8 o'clock, and he used to work with me on technique because I didn't want to look like a fool when I came in. I still looked like the fool when I got in because I was just a little undersized. But Charlie used to work with me, and he was a senior, and so. But I'll never forget. I don't think, and Glenn, you know this. Charlie, growing up, was an ASU fan.
Yes, absolutely.
Charlie was an Arizona State fan, and when he didn't get recruited there, it killed him. Yeah. And he said, I'll never forget his senior speech.
His sister was a cheerleader for Arizona State.
And so on senior day, when Charlie was a senior, we just remember Larry would line up, we hit the bag for the last hit. And Charlie goes, ASU didn't recruit me because I couldn't pull left. And Charlie goes, well, watch me now. And he got in the stance and pulled left and hit the bag. It was great. It was awesome. But Charlie, Kelvin, I didn't know you were on, Kelvin. Good to talk to you. But it was a great moment.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, Charlie, he hated ASU, man. I mean,
he was
my roommate, and that week before, he just had that grimace face on him. The whole week, usually off the field, Charlie's the nicest guy in the world. Then when you get on the inside the lines, he just goes nuts. But I mean, that week, he was just like, we got to beat those guys, man. We just got to beat
It's
them.
up to us, guys. It's up to us, guys. It's up to us.
Oh, man, that was my guy, man. I love it because he used to always huddle us on the side like, guys over here, guys over here, we have to get this right. Get it together.
Oh, my God.
That shows how much I love him. I got him down to a T. I mean, that was
that
cool.
was funny. He was Charlie was a true Wildcat, without a doubt.
He was. I tried to get him on, but he had this game. I talked to Charlie at least once, 2-3 times a month before every game. You know, I tried to get him on for today, but they have a game today. Their game is
they're playing BYU.
Yeah, they're playing BYU, and he's like, Glenn, it's a rivalry. We got to kick those scummies' butt. You know, he's like he's on it, man. Charlie, I love that dude so much. That dude was in my wedding. He was, you know, he's just a great. I mean, he'll be one of my pallbearers, man.
Well, we get him next year in the Big 12, so we'll definitely have him on then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we will definitely. Yes, absolutely. And I even told him, I go, Charlie, I said, we're coming into the Big 12. We're going to be in the top 4 teams in the conference. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, yeah, Charlie, it's going to be Utah. It's going to be us or you, Oklahoma State, or Kansas or Kansas State. That's what's going to be when the top team's coming in next year. So
yeah, that's right. It's going to be interesting. You think about that going to a new conference, everything changes: recruiting, travel. I mean, just everything, man. Just how you have to look at things, and I'm sure that Coach Fish is preparing how we're going to attack that.
Absolutely, we'll do. Hey, Doug, thanks a lot for calling in all the way from the.
Oh, are you kidding me? I appreciate it. I was hot this morning, Glenn. I was man. Love you too, man. Kelvin, good talking to you, pal. Be well, and Dave, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Doug Penner.
That's Doug Penner, class of 1988. 88.
Yeah, 1988.
Man, he was a freshman when I was a senior.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Outstanding,
Dougie
man.
Fresh. We used to call him Dougie Fresh because he used to sit in the area with all the brothers would be over there, and he was the only white dude over there in that corner. And we would used to talk like, "What do you think you're Dougie Fresh, man?" Like, you know, because there's all our numbers were in that area, and all the brothers was there, and we would we just go, "What do you think you Dougie Fresh, man?" Like, you know, and he took that on, man. He's like, "I am Dougie Fresh."
All right, that is our great to get a chance to talk to Doug Penner, as well as that is our defensive scouting report.
And Jay Dobbs is going to call in, man. I think he's calling in pretty soon. He said the line was busy, so we'll tell him to call in again.
And that's a look at the Wildcats' defensive scouting report for today's game.
Back to throw. Here comes the rush again. He's sacked by Jacob Manu.
This is Arizona football on Wildcats Radio 1290. Let's take a look at the Right Way Rundown and see what's coming up on our pregame show, brought to you by Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Doing things the right way.
Glenn Howe just saying we're going to talk to Jay Dobbins coming up as well. We'll go into the captain's corner and hear from one of our current captains once again. Last week we heard from Jordan Morgan. Today we will hear from Traden Stukes, who has played in this rivalry now. He'll be playing in his 4th game here today with a chance to get a second victory. We'll update you on your scoreboard as well as have our pest of the game, best bets, all of that is straight ahead here. It's the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Game Day pregame show. We are live from Macayo's Mexican food here in Tempe. We've got a bunch of games on the TV screens right now. We got Texas A&M, LSU. We got Ohio State, Michigan. So come on out here and join us as you get set for today's game between the Wildcats and the Sun Devils. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you in part by
Blue Whale Car Wash, Caruso's Italian Restaurant, Cool Willie's Air and Plumbing, The Diamond Store, Goldberg and Osborne, Goodfellas AC,
Humane Society of Southern Arizona,
Lexus of Tucson, Nova Home Loans, Recon Auto Detail, Right Now Power Sports Tucson, and the Tucson Police Department.
This November, I'm grateful for the most thrilling
Wealth management, wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290.
Coming to you live from Macayo's Mexican Food here in Tempe. David Kelly along with Glenn Howe here on site. Kelvin Ifan, J.W. Madden back in the CNWT, Central Northwest Tucson. It's Arizona and Arizona State for the 97th time. The Territorial Cup game here today. Wildcats trying to make it 2 wins in a row in this series. And we have got another special guest, Glenn Howe.
Yes, we have Jay Dobbs. Jay Dobbins, wide receiver, 1984 class. Jay Dobbs, you have some great memories of the Arizona State game. And actually the one that you sent me this morning, I remember that catch, and it was unbelievable catch that you had to go way up to get that one and take it down and make Tommy Tunnicliffe looking really good.
Yeah, man, you know, the best part of this for me was beating those guys on their field. I played them 3 times, twice in Tucson, once in Tempe, and beating them there, man, in front of their fans, nothing better than that.
Absolutely. What would be your fondest memory of winning the game? Like, you know, before the game, after the, you know, during the game. What was your fondest memories?
Well, you know, before the game, the mission, the objective was to just stay out of a fist fight with them, because like we were literally throwing down in pregame with these dudes, and everything's on the line. Bragging rights, you know, everything's on the line in this game. Bragging rights, recruiting, dignity, prestige, your honor, your pride, the history of the series. Every year, at least for Arizona, it's the most important game of the year.
And I'll say this right here. You just heard Fish say that game was the game that basically turned them around and got them going in the right direction. Arizona State is trying to do the same thing right now.
Absolutely. They're trying.
Well, Kel, you know, man.
Go ahead, Jay.
It's a violent Saturday, man. Wherever you're playing those guys, you can anticipate some violence going down.
Yeah, I remember that game as just being so physical. You know, we just, you know, I remember the 84 game of playing against, you know, I'm playing tight end, and we used to have these tray blocks, and I would, you know, do them with Charlie Dickey, because Charlie Dickey was the offensive tackle. And Charlie, every time we break the huddle, we have a trade block, he'd look at me and he would say, "Let's just kick his, you know what?" And we're moving him out. He says, he'd just look at me and then he'd say, let's get this, man. And then after, you know, Charlie gives you an extra shove after you knocks you down. So, you know, I'm surprised we didn't get in as many fights in those games as, you know, because Charlie was just very violent that game. It was just great to play with him.
Well, you know, for me, there's a reason 40 years later why I don't go to this game in Tempe, is because I enjoy my Saturdays. They're much more pleasant not being in jail. And it's a fist fight waiting to happen.
It's a risk.
Jay, that's exactly what Lamont said. Lamont Huntley said this week. He's like, I don't go to those games up there because something bad might happen.
Yeah, it's like, you know,
someone's going to say something, it's going to turn bad, and you know what? 40 years later, man, like, you're still feeling competitive about that game. So some guy who like got cut from his JV team wants to pop off about what they're about. You know what? It's going down. Man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Taking it all out. Jay, I was telling everybody this morning, I was in a hotel. I stayed up here, and there was nothing but Sun Devils fans in there. And I was saying, I don't fear the fork. And I said, bear down, you know. And there was this one guy in the back that was sitting at the breakfast, and he had an Arizona hat, and I just said it out loud.
Of your screen, the bottom of the screen.
You know, and everybody was looking at me, and there were some old cats. I mean, some really old cats that looked like they played football here. Like, I mean, looked like they were 70 years old. I mean, really old cats.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, some Sun Devil guys. and they just kind of just gave me the glare.
I hope these guys, as they're making their way up, as they made their way up to Tempe, I hope they remember that 70-7 billboard on I-10, because there should be no mercy on our end. They had no problem mocking us or humiliating us after that game. And I sent a message to Coach Fish this week. I said, in the fourth quarter, when the game is over and you're in control, you better be calling four verts and trying to get more points on these dudes. Roll it up on these guys.
Put DeLorean in there.
Roll it up on them.
Put
DeLorean in there.
Well, Jay, it's interesting you said that, because we did a poll this week. We said we asked people if you felt like the Wildcats should run it up on them because of what happened, because now the U of A is in a position to do that, and over 75% of the people that voted in the poll said absolutely run it up today. Absolutely.
Put the foot on their neck.
I'm never in favor. Yeah, I'm never in favor of humiliating an opponent. I think it's important that you treat your opponents with some dignity, except this week. No dignity for these dudes.
Yeah. I was texting Vince Amy, okay? Vince Amy used to be the D-line coach here, and we became good friends. And I texted him. I said, good luck today. And then he looked. I think he looked at the text, and then I sent him one right after that. Says, "Not really." I said, "Not really. Bear down." I said, "Bear down." I said, "No good luck today, man." I said, and he said,
and he played for. You got to remember, Vince played for ASU.
Yeah, he played for ASU, and he's from the Bay Area.
I saw Cheryl Smith last night, Larry Smith's widow, Larry Smith's wife, and the first thing she said is that every Saturday, every ASU Saturday, she goes, I can still see the tears in Larry's eyes getting ready for that game because he was so emotional about it.
Oh, yeah. And I told, hey, Jay, that's what I told the folks on the radio today, is that Larry Smith ingrained in us as players how important this game was. How important this game was for us to beat them. There was no other alternative but to beat these guys.
He lived and breathed it. And it was every year when our objectives and our goals and our mission was up in the locker room, beat ASU was always the priority. Always the priority.
Absolutely. Now, Jay, you're the fourth guy that talked during the Larry Smith era, and every single one of the guys said that exact same statement. So it's still ingrained in us 40 years from now. And, just thinking about how Larry used to he was just so fired up about beating this team. And, he was it was exciting for us to be playing in that game because we had so much confidence every time we played in that game.
Well, that 83 game in Tempe, what was beautiful about that, Max kicked a 57-yarder as time expired. We beat him 17-15, and whatever that stadium holds, 75 grand or 80 grand, it emptied out except for the pocket of Arizona fans, and they would not leave. It was 90 minutes after the game, and they were still partying there. They wouldn't leave.
Absolutely. And just think of this, Jay. Back then, a 57-yard field goal was unheard of. You didn't see nobody kicking no 57-yard field goals in college.
Max had a lot on the line there. Not only the game, but his brother on the other sideline, and just the rivalry and the insults coming from the stadium and coming from the stands, and the inappropriate things that are being said to you on that sideline, man, that made it sweet. When that thing went through, the party was on.
And one thing I remember about that game, Jay, is when we played there in '83. Remember they used to have those pom-poms, and every single person in the stadium had those pom-poms. They would do dun 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 dun, and then they do that. They do that USA because I wouldn't say it's moo. They would do that dun 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 dun, and then they would do. And then in the fourth quarter, when we were coming back, man, they were not. I mean, that thing was just everybody had one of those pom-poms. It was that gold pom-pom. And I just loved that they couldn't do anything in that fourth quarter. It was unbelievable.
Man, it was like, in that game too, like we talked about the violence in that game, it was like you were literally trying to put people in the hospital. Yeah. And not in that, that probably sounds wrong, but it was like you wanted to hit them hard enough where they had to be dragged off the field. We wanted dudes leaving the field like not able to walk off on their own.
I'll tell you guys this. I had a friend from Dallas, and we're basically no longer friends because the Arizona State game, they was beating us, and I got a very physical with him on a few of the kickoff returns, and he don't like me anymore.
Tell you, it brings the best out of us, man. Because they had all those guys on that team. They had Fulcher, they had everybody. They had some great players on the other side, and we just wanted to dominate them. And that's exactly. All our games were close, 17, but we still have felt a sense of that we were going to win those games, Jay. I don't know. How I felt every time I went into a game. I never felt that we were going to lose a game when we played Arizona State.
Well, when in the '82 game, my sophomore year, I was on the field when Brian Holland, when H-Bomb caught that 92-yard pass and took it to the end zone, and he was being chased, and I was chasing him. We got to the end zone, and he turned around, and he looked at this ASU kid that was chasing him and just gave him the throat slash. He said, "It's over."
That's awesome. That's a great way to end it, man, with the throat slash. Well, Jay, thanks a lot for coming on. We appreciate you, my brother. And where are you watching the game at today?
You know what? I spend so much time on my couch these days. I've been reupholstered.
Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully, we're going to be getting real deep into the ASU crowd here in a little bit. And we wish you a great day today. And Jay Dobbs, bear down, baby.
Have fun, man. Thanks for having me again, boys. Bear down.
All right, love you, man.
All right, Jay Dobbins, U of A wide receiver. Let's get a break in here. We got Captain's Corner is going to be coming up next. We've got a special guest that we're going to have as well on that, as we're going to be joined by Daniel Greer from the class of 1998. It's the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Game Day pregame show. We are at Macayos, ASU Tempe. Stop on by. We'll be here till noon, and you're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
Bear down, Wildcats fans. This is the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290.
Your holidays. I'm Ron Arenas, the owner of Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. We'd like to wish you a safe and happy holiday season and a very Merry Christmas. When you need us, call 520-440-4069 for honest service to the Tucson area for over 22 years.
Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Cantina Nachos, Strawberry.
Cats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290. Gather up, Wildcats fans. It's time to hear from our captain.
It's time for our pregame speech.
The Captain's Corner is brought to you by Ram Plumbing.
When your plumbing is in trouble, call Ram on the double.
And now, here is the captain, Kelvin Ifan.
Welcome into this week's edition of the Captain's Corner, presented by Rams Plumbing. I'm Kelvin Ifan. Tell us, man, what you been up to lately?
Man, just just taking it day by day, stay loose and adjust, and just making it do what it do out here in Colorado.
Yeah, so you out in Colorado and you're a firefighter, right? So tell the people, you know, I had you on last a little bit about that, your post-playing career occupation now, for the people who don't know.
Okay, so I work up here for the City of Boulder Fire Department, and I'm a firefighter on a truck company out here at Station 6, and we run a crew of about there's three of us, and we just go out there and make it do what it do. It's kind of sacking the quarterback in a different way, but you're grabbing that hose line and going in and tackling this fire instead of tackling quarterbacks and other people. And I like it. You know, I feel like I'm doing the Lord's work.
Oh, yeah, man, saving lives. I mean, there's a little more important than football. I mean, we think about it at the end of the day. I mean, you know, of course, I'm talking about ASU weekend here, but at the same time, man, you're doing great work. Let me ask you, D. Greer, how do you feel about this 12-1 25th anniversary? How do you feel about just hearing those 25 years?
Wow. Well, first thing that comes to thought, I don't think it'll ever be touched. But that's just me.
Me either.
Football has changed in a lot of different ways. I mean, a lot of times I don't know. I don't know. How do I put this? Football is just different now. We back in our day, we loved to hit, and I don't know if these guys still like to hit. I'm not talking about anybody particular, but football has changed, and obviously, 25 years ago, you know, hitting was a lot different, and you know, it is what it is. But yeah, a lot different. Right. You know, it's kind of funny. I was talking to some of the guys the other day. Deshaun Polk and we were just chopping it up, and we used to always run a couple different stunts and I don't know, you know, it's just things is different. I don't know if it's players don't have that much family in them as we did back in our day with Coach Tomey. But when I would tell Deshaun or even you, hey, we need that 1 yard rock up there. We went and got it. Guys like you went and got it. Guys like Deshaun Polk fill the hole. Greg Payne fill the hole. Chris Matt, hey, I need you to cover that quarter of the field.
Right.
I just don't know. So yeah, things have changed, but I think they may be for the better, but I just missed the great hits.
Yeah, I hear you on that, man. I had a couple fun ones on my side of the ball as well. Tell me, when did you know that team was going to be special? Me, myself, I felt like when we went to the Inside.com Bowl and was able to win that game and had those practices from the Inside.com Bowl and that Arizona State game, I still remember celebrating in that locker room, man. That was a good time, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think when it became even just great is one, I think for I'm going to talk on the defensive side of the ball a little bit, is when, Coach Ellerson said, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to play. We're going to run this double eagle flex, and we're going to be able to let you guys get after the quarterback. When he trusted us and Coach Tomey trusted him, there was a lot of trust up there, and he let us put our ears back and let us go after it. That's, that for me was really fun, but it was also just, I just knew when we were together as a family, we were going to do well.
Man, and it was crazy. My next question right here was, how important was Coach Tomey and Coach Ellison to you? That was my next question.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, man. I'll start with Coach Ellerson. Coach Ellerson, I remember getting recruited out of California, and I struggled with the SAT, and I know that's no longer an issue. But he was the one that kind of told me, hey, this is how you have to go about it. This is what you need to do, and then you need to buckle down. And he was the first one to kind of just say, hey, this is the process. If you follow the 5 Ps, proper preparation prevents poor performance, you'll tackle this. And then him telling me that, and then Coach Tomey just being a good man, just being a good individual man, and him talking to us. And I don't know, and maybe we didn't have a lot. We had a lot of young men on the team, but I don't know if they had a lot of father figures. And Coach Tomey was like a father figure, at least for me. And I think he was to a lot of gentlemen on how to act by taking off your hat, by being on time, 15 minutes early. Those are things that I still do to this day. And then him marrying his beautiful wife. It's just all those things. We were a family, we were a family.
Miss Nancy Kincaid. I would say, other thing I was going to ask you, how do you feel about seeing this defense playing the way they are? Teddy Bruschi said it was you just said it was the double eagle flex. Teddy Bruschi said that he was naming the defense the same thing. And I don't know how much you've watched these guys, but the little bit that I've been watching, man, these guys been swarming around a little bit. I mean, nobody will be like that Desert Swarm team. What was it, 93, 94? They were never, I don't know if you could ever even do that again because of, again, the style of play that was legal back then, right? Brandon Sanders, I don't know how legal he would be these days.
Right.
Right. But again, what about this defense have you seen that impresses you?
I think they get to the ball. I know I have high expectations. I've watched what I've could. But again, getting after the ball mindset, getting after the ball and getting sideline to sideline is the mindset. And if the players want it and they want it, I mean, there's a difference between what you need and what you have to have.
Hey.
When we played football, you have to have it. And that's what was coached. And anything underneath that wasn't acceptable. I need you to get to the ball. I need you to get to sideline. When Deshaun Polk, when Teddy, I played a year with Teddy, when he said, hey, man, I need you to get here. I need you to make that play. When a man tells you, I need you to make that play, there's a difference between, hey, let's make the play. When I need you to do something, you're going to show up.
Right.
And there's a difference. When going into one of these houses, when I need to save somebody, I need to save somebody. It's not a want, it's a need. And when you go after the football and you play defense as a need and you have to stop it, then it can be done. So I know that's kind of a little back-ended answer to the question, but I think the guys can do it. It just has to be a priority. There's a difference between what you want and what you need.
I'm sitting here listening, man. And first I want to say, Daniel Greer is our guest in the Captain's Corner, brought to you by Ram's Plumbing. When your plumbing is in trouble, call Ram on the double. I'm getting so caught up right here, man, because, you sound like Coach Tomey. You know that's what Coach Tomey used to tell us. Some people want it. A lot of people want it, but we have to have it. And so I'm just hearing you remember those words 25 years later, man. It's crazy. Me threw me off a little bit there. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this one right here, because I know word for word you repeated Coach Tomey right there. And but let me say this. Let me see. Man, that caught me off guard. Every ASU, every time I get on the radio during this time of the year, ASU, all I keep hearing about is that ASU game when the guy took the shot on you right there. I don't like calling it cheap shot because I don't like talking like that really, but it was
right.
You know what I'm saying. It wasn't a good shot, and it was behind the play. The guy broke your leg, and I ran off the sideline. I saw you first.
Yeah.
Then I seen Coach Tomey just. Coach Tomey was just irate, and I reacted before I could even think, because I'm seeing my brother and my coach, and I reacted and went out there and did a little spear, to the guy in his back, which is basically a hit. Tell me a little bit about how you felt in that moment, and what you had to go through to get back on the field.
Man, what I had to go through, man, I remember there was the training staff, Maggie, and there was another gentleman there. I forget his name, but I remember getting my ankle back together. And I remember there was days they had this slide board, and I remember crying because it was so painful getting back. But again, I didn't want to come back. I needed to come back, and that was big. I remember Frank Middleton. I remember you. I remember my wife coming to my aid, and it was just unfortunate, It is what it is. It happened. It is what it is. I can't go back. I got to continue to move forward. I got to continue to call huddles within my life and break the huddle and go out and execute. So I remember it. I remember the pain. I remember the emotions. I remember a lot of different things, but I can't let those things hold me back. I got to continue to move forward. It's funny you mentioned that. I just talked to Jake. I sent Jake Plummer a text the other day, and we kind of communicate every now and then. He lives out here in Colorado, and we'll chop that up every now and then. So all is good. Just continue to move on in life. But I do remember it. I do remember the game. I remember everybody's emotions, and do I think about it every now and then? Yes, but I've turned those mistakes on the football field or bad things that happen on the football field into, hey man, bad things are going to happen in life. And when you want something, you can go get it. But when you need something, you'll have to have it.
We have David Kelly here, host of our show. David Kelly want to ask a question.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Go ahead.
How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. Hey, just a quick question. Obviously, you guys had a chance to come in here, and Glenn's got a question as well. What was the mentality that these players need to have today to come in here and win in enemy territory?
It's in your gut. I mean, you guys, all the players, they know. It started. I don't know if you guys are at Camp Cochise or if these guys are at Camp Cochise no more. It's a mentality and it's an attitude and it's a brotherhood. There's a difference between just playing and going out looking at TikTok and looking at some of these YouTube videos. That's not how it's played. You got to play for for your buddy across from you because you guys done grinded all year long. You got to play because there's a difference, and I keep saying this, there's a difference between what you want and what you need. And if they need it and you have to have it, then they will go out and get it. And nothing else is acceptable. Why? Because we played all year long for this, and now we have to have it. So the mentality has to be that you just have nothing else is going to be acceptable.
Daniel, Glenn Howell, tight end, 1985. Glad to have
What's
you
up, Glenn?
How you doing, man? I tell you one thing.
I'm doing good, man.
One memory I had, I was on the sideline because Coach Dickey was, a good friend of mine. He was my roommate and everything. I was on the sideline for that game where you got hurt. I just tell you, the guys that played at the University of Arizona was so pissed and upset about that play.
Yeah,
it was we wanted to lace them up and go out there and get a shot on somebody too. And I just want to let you know that was something that was chilling to all the players that ever played, put on the uniform at the University of Arizona.
But you see, what you're saying right now, Glenn, is, and I can feel it in your voice, I could feel it in your spirit, I could feel it over this phone. There's a difference. Even sitting here where I'm at right now, you can feel it. Why? Because we're truly connected and will always be connected. You mentioning Coach Dickey, man. I mean, everything right there is a feeling and a brotherhood. I mean, man, that what you're talking about, if that could be put in a jar, everything you're saying, why? Because it's still in you. You still want to, and I know, Glenn, to this day, you still want to just lace them up. Give me one play. Just give me one play. Just give me one play. Just give me one chance to break the huddle. Why? Because I got something for you. I got something for you to taste. So it's always there, but I get it. I get it. Oh, man. I can't get too hyped right now. I'm sitting here.
Daniel, you know what you said about Camp Cochise? We used to break the huddle, beat ASU at Camp Cochise. I mean, we'd break the huddle. That's what we used to break the huddle sometimes. Beat ASU at Camp Cochise.
And that's what I'm talking about. We need great young men and men to be able to not only break the huddle and go after being a great father, going after being a great husband, going after being a great worker. We need people to break the huddle in everyday life just to do what we do. But if you break the huddle and you start right now beating ASU, ASU going to turn into being a great father, beating drugs or alcohol. It's just that you gotta be able to flip the mentality, and it starts with beating ASU.
Absolutely. That sounds like a T-shirt. Breaking the huddle, brother.
Hey, yes, sir.
Hey, Glenn, just give me a little piece of it when we do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm telling you.
Daniel Greer is our guest in the Captain's Corner, brought to you by Ram's Plumbing. When your plumbing is in trouble, call Ram on the double. Daniel, we never lost to them again after that, and I also say that had a lot to do with us not losing to them again, and it also had a lot to do with us, I feel like, having that 12 in 1 year, because it did bring us more together as a group after that injury. So tell me a little bit, what did you think about that we never lost to those guys again?
Well, because I think that in life sometimes you gotta know that you can do it. And Coach told me, Coach Ellerson, Coach Long, Coach Aquina, he's there. Oh my God! Please do not get me started. There's a mentality in a brotherhood. These guys have to come together, and they have to really want it, and they have to lean on each other. I mean, I'm just thinking about, man. I'm thinking about Damon Terrell. I'm thinking about all these different dudes. You have to come together as a family. You really have to come together as a family and realize, hey, not only are you my teammate, but you're my brother. And we're going to go through this life, and we're going to have ups and downs. We're a family. I might not, everybody might, we can talk about our brother, but y'all can't talk about our brother. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's got to really be the spirit.
and the attitude that these guys have to come together in order to accomplish anything. And once they believe in themselves, and Coach Tomey was great at that. I remember we watched that rocket movie. I forget the name of it, going into space, and the Apollo something. And it's some people might say the movie was corny or whatever, but Coach Tomey was about getting our soul. Coach Tomey coached our soul. And not only did he coach our soul, but he coached our attitudes, and all that was infectious, and then we went out there and did it.
Man, that's real, man. Well, I love you, D. Greer. I really appreciate you coming on. Our thanks to Daniel Greer for joining us this week in the Captain's Corner.
Yeah, thank you. Have a blessed day.
Too, bro.
And that's your Captain's Corner with Kelvin Efon. Brought to you by Ram Plumbing. When your plumbing is in trouble, call Ram on the double.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you in part by
Blue Whale Car Wash, Caruso's Italian Restaurant, Cool Willie's Air and Plumbing, The Diamond Store, Goldberg and Osborne, Goodfellas AC,
Humane Society of Southern Arizona,
Lexus of Tucson, Nova Home Loans, Recon Auto Detail, Ride Now Power Sports Tucson, and the Tucson Police Department.
At Nova Home Loans, we believe everyone deserves the opportunity to enjoy the independence that comes with home ownership. Whether you're a first-time home buyer who needs down payment assistance, have less than perfect credit,
On Wildcats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290. Here is today's Pac-12 scoreboard. Brought to you by Mesquite Valley Growers. Mesquite Valley Growers. Real growers, real experience, real nursery. On Wildcats Radio 1290.
Back here at Mikhail's Mexican Food in Tempe, Arizona, getting you set for the Territorial Cup game. I got my buddy Ed here with me. Ed, we're going to talk to him here momentarily, but let's get you a quick update on what's happening with your Pac-12 scoreboard. One game last night, and it did not go the way that the Wildcats wanted it to go. Number 6, Oregon, knocked off Oregon State 31-7, so the Ducks clinched the final spot for the Pac-12 football championship game in Las Vegas last week. The Wildcats needed Oregon State to win that game. It did not happen as the Ducks moved to 11-1 on the season.
Oregon's going to crush them.
Crush Washington. You
they're
think
gonna
so?
They're going to crush them.
Washington got the better of them by 3 points the first time that they met back in October. It is rivalry week in the Pac-12 Conference. Colorado is at Utah today. The Utes looking to finish the season at 8-4. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff today. Our game will commence at 1:30 here in Tempe, the 97th Territorial Cup game. It's the Apple Cup up in Seattle today. The 4th-ranked Huskies at 11-0, looking to finish the season undefeated, will take on Washington State. And at 5 o'clock today, number 18 Notre Dame will be in Palo Alto to take on the Stanford Cardinal. The Irish enter at 8-3. The Stanford Cardinal are 3-8. Last week, Southern California lost in their rivalry game to the UCLA Bruins at the Coliseum. Pleased to be joined by Ed, who came all the way up to join us at the show today. Ed, you've got your colors on. You're ready to go today. How excited are you to see this game at Mountain America Stadium?
Well, always excited to see the Cats, David. Any opportunity, and especially live and here in Tempe. This is awesome. We got 7 of us that came up, and we're going to sit together and we're going to cheer on the Cats.
Yeah, tell us who you got here with you today.
I got my 2 daughters, my brother, my daughter's boyfriend, and then coming up in a little bit will be my son and his wife.
Give me your fondest memories of Arizona football. You've been watching, I would imagine, the Wildcats for a long time.
Oh, a long time. I remember going to games when I was a little kid, probably like 8, 9 years old, coming up from Nogales with my parents.
Wow.
I used to have to get dressed up, and it was kind of like a big deal at the time. But there are so many memories. I don't know if I could pick just one, but I mean, every game is fantastic. The feeling you get when you walk into the tunnel and you see the green grass and everything, it's like, hey, man. Football heaven.
Is there a player you idolized growing up in Nogales? Or was there a guy's like, man, I just want to go see that guy play? Or
Well, we did have a couple of Nogales guys play there. I remember one, I think he coaches now over at Desert View, Robert Bonillas.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Robert Bonillas,
yes.
absolutely.
Great player.
So anytime you get a hometown guy there, you want to follow him. But, I mean, there's been so many great players, guys that have gone on to the NFL. I really like the current players we have right now that, because they've started off, in a really bad situation. They've really worked hard, and you can see the turnaround, and that's really satisfying.
Now, how many games have you been to up here?
Here, it's probably been to about 4 games over my lifetime. Wasn't always the most pleasant experience coming up here to a game, so, we'll just watch it on TV.
Yeah. So what was your first game? Your first game that you went to as an Arizona fan?
Oh, man, I think.
What year?
One that I remember, it was probably back in the 60s.
Wow.
And I think it was a UCLA game, and I think the quarterback at the time was Gary Beeben.
Oh, yeah, the Heisman Trophy winner.
That's 67, 68.
Yeah. So
wow.
I was about 10 or 11.
So you saw Bruce Hill and all those guys play when they were here at Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Outstanding. Well, Ed, we appreciate you bringing the family up today. Enjoy the game over at the stadium today.
Most definitely.
Hopefully the Wildcats can get you a victory.
We'll be cheering, and, we're here for the Cats. And after this, it's on to the whatever bowl game we go, and then basketball.
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be a good winner For sure. All right, let's get another break in here. We're at Mikhail's Mexican Food.
Thanks, Ed.
And we are joined here by Ed. Glad to have him and his family here. It is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Game Day pregame show. Wildcats, Sun Devils for the 97th time today here in Tempe. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
That's today's Pac-12 scoreboard, brought to you by Mesquite Valley Growers. Mesquite Valley Growers. Real growers, real experience, real nursery.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290. Let's take a look at the Right Way Rundown and see what's coming up on our pregame show, brought to you by Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Doing things the right way.
Okay, we got about 35 minutes with you here at Macayo's Mexican Food in Tempe, taking you up to the 1 o'clock network start. I should say 12 o'clock network start, and then 1:30 is kickoff here today of the 97th Territorial Cup game between the Wildcats and the Sun Devils. Still to come, we're going to have another special guest joining us here in mere minutes. Also, we've got our pest of the game. Who's going to be that Sun Devil that might get underneath the Wildcats' skin today? We'll tell you that. Best bets as well as our keys to the game, all straight ahead as we wrap up our program here today in Tempe. Don't forget, we will be back here at Macayo's after the game, 6 to 8 for the Meridian Wealth Management post-game show. We'll be here 6 to 8, so come on back over here and celebrate. They've got a big thing up there. It says chip dipping, margarita sipping. It sounds like, it sounds like, who's that, Ric Flair?
Yeah,
Chip dipping, margarita sipping. I mean, we got it all going on here this Saturday here in Tempe. Glenn, we've got
we got the other 38.
Yeah,
we got the other 38.
Yeah,
we got James DeBow. We just talked about his play, and he's going to come on the show and talk to us a little bit about his memories about that great rivalry.
James, we got you.
Is James on now?
Yes, sir. I'm.
What up, JD?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Still feeling full from the Thanksgiving feast, but I'm working it out.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I tell you what, man, they had to get me a wheelbarrow to get out of our kitchen, man. I was like, Lord, I had sweet potato pie, had some pecan pie, had some buttermilk pie. I was pied out, boy. I was like,
yeah, man.
Maybe a big rib roast, and I was ready to go. It was pretty good. You had a great Thanksgiving with the family?
Yeah, man. Went down to my son's house in Redlands, and his family, my mom came through. Everybody, it was good time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, James, man, I know after you ate that last piece of turkey, as you probably still as age you are today, the age you are today, we all know after we eat that turkey, it's the next couple of days we're playing in the rivalry every year. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to hook up with Chris Wright, downtown.
Yeah.
We're going to watch the game and cheer on the Cats for sure.
Absolutely. We're talking to James DeBow, class of 1988. 88. That's right, because he was a freshman.
Yeah.
He was a freshman when I was a senior. So James DeBow, he started out, he was a running back, and then he got switched over to DB. And when he played DB, he had one of the most iconic plays in Arizona State U of A history on the goal line. James, tell us a little bit about that play, of how that thing came up. Can you start from the call in the huddle and what you guys were thinking on that play?
Well, they went to their heavy set, right? This, tendencies. We watch the tape. They bring big boy Daniel in at fullback and put the Channing Williams back at tailback. So they had already set the tone with the package that they had in there. Prior to that, though, it was actually a field goal that they took off the board. Right, we were down, and they kicked the field goal. It was some penalty. They came back in with that set. So we pretty much figured they were going to run it inside, but he ended up bouncing it outside because Byron and Woody really stuffed it up the middle, and he bounced outside and tried to get in. And I happened to be in position and ready to make the play, and got underneath his pads, man, and what they coach call it now, the Debo tackling drill.
Yeah. Yeah, and James, tell me, was the defense a little offended when they took the points off the board? Were you guys what? Are you kidding? You think you could run this in?
Well, it's a surprise for sure, because conventional wisdom says, you don't really take the points off the board, right? Especially in a, relatively close game. It was the third quarter, I think. So, that would have been a big play. Momentum change if they didn't get it, which they didn't. But offended, we were ready more than any offended. We were ready.
Yeah, and also, James, it's like Channing was not 195, 200-pound back. He was I think he was laying on the weight scale probably about 250. He's pretty big.
Maybe probably pushing 230. You know what I mean? At that point in the season, he probably was a little fitter early in the season. But yeah, he was a good sized back without a doubt. I was a fly 186, 183 pounds. I was pledging then, so I knew I was in super good shape.
Yeah. You was fasting. Was that what you was doing? Is that what you said? He's
pledging.
Yeah,
pledging.
Yeah,
I know he's pledging because he's probably they didn't let him eat.
Yeah. Calisthenics all night.
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. Exactly. So James, what is some of your best besides that play? How was the tone before the game when we were playing those guys during the week? How was your practice? I always think that when you have a great practice during the week, I think that's what sets you up for your Saturday. And I remember like in '85, we had great practices that week. Everybody was on point, Johnny H and Alfred were hooking up, everybody was just really just on point in '85. We were running the ball. We were, we're doing everything that when we were doing those full line drills and everything. And I just really think, how was your practice before that week when you guys were playing? Do you remember back then?
Much the same. Very, very, very sharp practices. Very focused. Again, the tape, even we're watching tape leading up to going into practice. So we're just really honing in. Going into this game, it's unlike any other game in terms of pregame. The week before the game, because you start to hear about it. It starts to build, and each day in practice, especially the early practices, the full, we got the contact on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, then we taper it down on Thursday and Friday, I think, and it ends up being really sharp walkthroughs, really focused, tape and film work, and just really honing in on the game plan, and that's what it was like going into this game, and you really have to calm yourself down leading up to the game and before kickoff, so that you're not out of your mind. I think that's what happened to me in '85. It was one of those. I was running back then, but I was probably too hyped going into the game. So
remember when we came out for that game in '85? The stands were just jammed packed.
Yeah.
There was no. I mean, they were in the walkways.
Wow.
I think it was just it was that game. I was so hyped because that was my last game as an Arizona Wildcat, as far as playing against Arizona State, and it was just. I'm getting goosebumps right now. Look at that. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
You are.
Thinking about that. I'm getting right now fired up because that stadium back then was 72 G's, and it was crazy. Remember those? I was telling Jade, I remember those pom poms they used to have. They used to do dun, 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 and then they would go USA. I can't say AS who, but AS who. That's what I used to say. And remember those pom poms? It was so loud that game. Thinking about that, and that like I said, our week was so preparation because Larry Smith. What was the difference between Larry Smith and Dick Tomey? You played for Larry Smith and Dick Tomey. Was there any
Yeah.
difference in preparing for those two games, for those two coaches?
Well, schematically, yes. But emotionally, in terms of just getting guys ready to play, it's very similar, especially on the defensive end, right? I had the 85, I played running back. 86 was the defensive team. 87 was Tony's defensive team, and it was very similar. I think the tone and just really getting guys sharp and ready to play, and mentally ready to play. And again, just trying to monitor how hyped you were. Had a little bit more, tact about it in '87, and so I was rounding into a leadership role on that defensive squad, and was able to, help folks understand what we were going to go into and what it was going to take to get prepared. So the difference really is in the philosophy, because when we knew what we wanted to do in terms of Larry Smith's team and running the ball and controlling the tempo of the game. And with Dick in '87, we really hadn't figured it out offensively, what we wanted to do, and how we were going to, be real effective. But we played with heart and passion, and were able to, at least get the tie, I believe, in that one.
So, James, you've seen us play, and what do you think about what the outcome is for today?
I'm so impressed with this squad from top to bottom in all three phases of the game. Like I said, I think this is, from my memory, this is probably one of the best, well-rounded offensive and defensive teams, and then the kicking game, showing up and performing at a high level. I expect us to win. Whether it's big, I don't really care. Big win, big whole bunch of points, or 1 point game. I expect a W. And mainly because this is that game. This is they're going to show up. You expect A-State to show up because it's that game for them too. So we just need to get the W. I believe that's going to happen.
Absolutely. We're talking with James DeBow. Want to thank you, number 38. The other 38, we got KE on the other side is the 38, and we got James DeBow. James DeBow, class of 1988. We really appreciate you coming on. And like I said, we were talking. We think that your play was one of the most iconic plays in Arizona State, Arizona history.
It's top five.
Top five.
It's top
five
I
think
it's
in
this
game, JD. We really appreciate you coming on, brother. And best to your family. I hope you guys, like I said, you had a great Thanksgiving and health and wellness for your family, brother. We'll see you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. All right, bear down.
Bear down, brother. See you.
Who is the pest the Wildcats need to be free from to win today's game?
The Pest of the Game is brought to you by University Termite and Pest Control. BePestFree.com.
All right, let's dive into that player that's going to get underneath the Wildcats' skin today here, guys. And I'm going with tight end Jalen Conyers on this one. He had a big game last year, 10 catches. And a touchdown, and the Wildcats really have not gotten beat much across the middle by tight ends this season. You don't want that to start today, but Jalen Conyers, a prideful senior on this team, could be the kind of guy that's looking to have a big game offensively for Arizona State, so you have got to be mindful of Jalen Conyers across the middle and up the seams today.
And my pest of the game is going to be, I think, it's going to be the Arizona State defense. They've had just spots of greatness, I think, when I watched them play against Washington, how they were stopping the run. They were able to put pressure on the quarterback, and they have some breakdowns, but I think if we can destroy and we can control that defense and be us running the ball, that's going to be our success today. And I think that is going to be our pest today, is beating that entire defense.
I know that they're supposed to start a different quarterback today, the freshman, but I still think that some reason Trent Bourget is going to have some impact on this game. So that's my pest.
All right, Trenton Bourget, and I got Jalen Conyers, and Glenn's going with the ASU defense.
That's our Pest of the Game, brought to you by University Termite and Pest Control. BePestFree.com.
All right, we
Bear
are
down, Wildcats fans. This is the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290.
Does it feel like the price of everything is going up, up, up?
Wealth Management pregame show on Wildcats Radio 1290.
Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived.
This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right, final segment of the show here in Tempe at Macayo's Mexican Food on North Scottsdale Road. We're at 650 North Scottsdale Road. We're going to be here after the game, chip dipping, margarita sipping, celebrating a Wildcats victory. Let's find out what the Wildcats need to do for that to happen today.
Wildcats fans, what are the big keys for today's game?
Our keys to the game are brought to you by the Royal Automotive Group. Royal Automotive, the dealership that is different.
All right, today's show is brought to you by Dave & Buster's, the best place to eat, drink, and play while watching today's game between the Wildcats and the Sun Devils. If you're not here in Tempe, head on over to Dave & Buster's. Let's head back down to Tucson and check in first with Kelvin Ifan. Kelvin, what has to happen for the Wildcats to win the 97th Territorial Cup game today?
I think first and foremost, you have to keep your head. You got to make sure you have a level head going into this game. You are the team going in with the winning record. You have to understand those guys coming in with a losing record with no opportunity to go to a bowl game. There's all kind of shenanigans that they try to pull you into to get you thrown out the game or get you where you can't play in the next game. So I think first and foremost, you have to keep a level head in this game. I mean, it's going to get competitive. It's going to get a little nasty. Just keep that level head. Second, I think you have to keep it simple. Run the ball. I know we have a fancy passing game. I know we have great receivers, great quarterback play right now. The offensive line is giving them all that time, but I think, man, you got to go to that running game today and try to punish those guys and physically dominate them and try to take their will away. And then lastly, I just think that, again, run the ball. Run the ball some more. Run that clock and get out of there and get that dub. So, that's basically it for me.
Kelvin, that's why we're both Wildcats. We on the same doggone page, man. I mean, everything that you just said, I agree with you 120%. Okay, thinking about what we need to do, run the ball. Let's put pressure on them to chase. We put them are chasing the number on the scoreboard. If they're chasing, what's going to happen to them is they're going to create turnovers. We're going to create some turnovers with them. We want them to be we need to be able to understand that in this game, like Kelvin says, our emotions got to be under control. We got to be able to say, hey, we're the big brother out here, and we're going to take you down, and we're just going to smother you. We're going to smother you, and that's what they need to do. And don't underestimate these scum devils up here because they have nothing to lose. It's like putting a cat in a corner when they'll raise up and they'll fight to the death. So you don't know what's going to happen. So you got to be able to, and when you have the foot on the neck, you got to choke them out.
Well,
you got to do that.
It's interesting. James DeBoe brought up his time as a pledge, and Kelvin just when he talked about keeping your head, it took me back to my years pledging and the great poem by If called by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too. You absolutely cannot put yourself, and Jed Fish talked about this week, you cannot put yourself in a position to have guys ejected in this game like we had last year, because this year there's more games coming. There's another game coming, and you do not want to be sitting out a half or an entire bowl game when you have worked so hard to get to this point. So, indeed, keeping your head is going to be important. In terms of the actual of what's going to happen on this field, this is a team that runs a lot of screens to their wide receivers, much like the Wildcats do. We've seen this Arizona team do an excellent job of tackling in space, and that has got to continue today with the likes of Traden Stukes and Dalton Johnson. I mean, those are going to be the guys on those edges, along with Gunnar Maldonado. Your safeties and your DBs are going to be critical to shutting down this passing game for the Arizona State Sun Devils. I don't think they're going to be able to come in here and run the ball against you. They're going to try to throw it. just like the Wildcats are going to try to throw it. But I sure wouldn't mind seeing a throwback to 2016, where the Wildcats only did not run a single pass play in the second half of that game and rolled up 511 yards in winning back in Tucson. Man, that for sure was a memorable day. Brandon Dawkins ran for 183, Samaje Grant ran for 176, and Zach Green ran for 126, and they combined for 7 touchdowns. I wouldn't mind seeing that from this running back crew that we've got here today. Just, physically take control of this game and don't take your foot off of their neck.
Yeah, and the thing is that they're going to throw some plays at you. Dillingham is bringing everything out. We might be the swinging gate. We might see all kinds of stuff. I think if we go to that 3 rush, this is the first time I've ever seen that we can do with 3 rush. We can still put pressure on the ball.
Yeah.
We can still get to the quarterback. So that's a good thing. And then if you add that extra 2 guys on that defense looking for that, I think we're going to get turnovers. Because we can put pressure.
That's what the Wildcats need to do today to beat the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Our keys to the game are brought to you by the Royal Automotive Group. Royal Automotive, the dealership that is different. The dealership that is different.
All right, in terms of what this game looks like in Vegas today, let's dive into that.
Tucson. What are today's best bets? Will the Cats beat the spread?
It's time to look at some of the best bets in football this weekend. Today's best bets are brought to you by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet.
All right, 12.5 is the line today. Arizona minus 12.5. I normally don't like double-digit lines on rivalry games, and my instincts tell me that this is not a good play. But from what I've seen from this Wildcats team, I think they're coming out here today with a purpose. They got 13 kids on this team that went through an unbelievably embarrassing situation 3 years ago in Tucson, and I believe Jed Fish and this coaching staff are going to make that right today. So I'm taking Arizona, and I'm laying that 12.5 here in Tempe today.
Yeah, I think the 12 is good. I mean, it's a lot, but I mean, it's a lot. In Vegas, they don't build them big buildings there every year. They don't build them every year because they don't know what they're doing on the line. But I think 12 is a good one. I'm going to take that bet and get Arizona minus the 12. I think we can win that.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't like, I've said it before, I don't like picking a score to this game, because to me it kind of jinx you a little bit, but I believe they'll cover that. Let's just go there.
All right, 12.5 is the line. The over-under is 50. Under has been the play for most of this season. It played over last week. I think I'm going to go under on this because I don't think ASU is going to. They haven't in the games where they have been dominated. They haven't scored. They got 13 points last week. They only got 3 in Salt Lake City. I think this plays under. I think it's going to be somewhere around 38 to 7, 38 to maybe even 10. I'll take the under on that 50.
What it's 50?
50.
Oh.
Yeah, 50.
I think I'm going to take the under, too, because I think it's 42 to, 3.
You're not even giving it. You don't even think they're going to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's what – I think our defense – I really believe our defense is really that kind of nasty. They want to – they believe they can do that. Because think of the numbers that they have allowed in the last couple of games. See, look what they did to Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are there they are. Bear down. It's just really – it really is – I think our defense has got an ass. They got to bring it today. They got to bring it today.
Kelvin?
I'm actually gonna take the over on this one. I think ASU is their last game of the season. I think it's their last game of the season. I think they're gonna throw all kind of stuff out. I've seen some trick plays in their last game. They didn't work too well through an interception, but they're already throwing the kitchen sink at you. I think it's gonna be a 38-21 game.
All right, we're all laying the 12.5. Glenn and I are taking the under. Kelvin is going over. We'll see how it all plays out here in about 5 hours.
Those are today's best bets. They are brought to you by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet.
My message would be for them is to, get your memories. It's that simple. Get your memories because, I have mine. My memories is I was part of the street, as far as making that thing happen. I have my memories, of making a impact tackle on that field, to stopping a running back from going in the end zone or deflecting a pass that could have caused a difference. I have my memories of watching Max and Dayhouse kick that ball up the center and win the game for us. I have my memories of Brian Holland catching the ball running down the field. Those memories will stay with you for the rest of your life. So I tell you to go out there and just gather your memories, do something positive on that field, and make sure you got those memories implanted inside of you where at the end of the game, the scoreboard is in your favor, because if it's not, it's gonna be, it's gonna be in your belly for a long time. So make sure the memories are in your positive way and create your own because, we old folks, we got ours.
Does not get any better than Lamont Hunley, linebacker 1984 right there. Get your memories today. 97th Territorial Cup game is straight ahead. That's going to wrap up our coverage here. Don't forget, we'll be back post-game, 6 to 8, right here at Macayos to talk about what went down for J.W. Madden, for Kelvin Efon, for Glenn Howe, for all the great guests we had, James DeBoe, Daniel Greer, Max Dejas, Doug Penner, Jay Dobbins. Most of all, thanks to you for listening and all the folks that came out. Bear down, Arizona.
Bear down, baby. Bear down. Beat the scummies.
Damn, brother.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you in part by
Broadway in Tucson, Dave & Buster's Tucson, Dorado Rock, First Choice Pools, The Good Feet Store, Jack Furrier Tire and
Colleges, one university, and thousands of homeowners trust University Termite and Pest Control. You can too. Call University Termite and Pest Control today at 886-4146 or go to bepestfree.com.
Broadway in Tucson presents the Rockin' 2023-2024 season featuring 8 blockbuster productions including Disney's Aladdin, The Book of Mormon, Hairspray, and Chicago. Enjoy the Southern Arizona musical premieres of Tina, the Tina Turner musical, Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Time of the Temptations, MJ the Musical, and Mrs. Doubtfire. Secure your choice season tickets today and get the ultimate in flexibility and the lowest prices all season. Visit BroadwayInTucson.com and secure your season tickets today.
My heat and air work in a state of disrepair.
Don't let heating or plumbing problems spoil your holidays. I'm Ron Arenas, the owner of Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. We'd like to wish you a safe and happy holiday season and a very Merry Christmas. When you need us, call 520-440-4069 for honest service to the Tucson area for over 22 years.
Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Sean Furrier for Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care. For some of you, the cooler overnight